iZotope has some incredible plugins that can help you to quickly mix your track and get great results even if you're new to the world of recording and mixing. And they put all of their best plugins into a bundle called the iZotope Music Production Suite Pro, and this means you can use all of these incredible tools without shelling out thousands of dollars up front. And this video is actually the first in a series where I'm going to be looking at the individual plugins that are included in the Music Production Suite Pro, and in this particular video I'm going to be looking at 3 ways you can use iZotope Neutron Pro in your mixes. I'm Zane, welcome to Audio Tech TV, where it's my goal to help you conquer the tech so you can unleash your creative beast. Now this video is sponsored by iZotope, but these are plugins that I've actually purchased and I use them and believe in them. I've included a link down in the description in case you want to get any more information on the bundle itself or the individual plugins that are included. But right now, let's look at the 3 ways you can use iZotope Neutron Pro in your mixes. So first, I just want to quickly talk about the difference between iZotope Neutron Pro and iZotope Neutron 3 Advanced. With the Pro plugins that you get with the Music Production Suite Pro, you are always up to date. So if iZotope were to release version 4 of their plugins next week, you would get that included with your subscription. Whereas if you owned Neutron 3 Advanced, you would have to purchase the upgrade. You'd probably get a discount on it, but you don't automatically get it. So that's really the difference between the Pro and the Advanced plugins. Now let's look at the first way that we can use iZotope Neutron Pro on a track. And this is with the Track Assistant. And this is AI-assisted technology, which will detect the audio source that you have going through it, and then it's going to make suggested adjustments based on what it hears. And it's very easy to do this. So if you have no mixing background or anything, you could quickly get started with these plugins and see what they're doing, and then you can learn as you go. So let's just walk through how easy it is to get that set up. So I have Neutron Pro loaded up on a drum track right here, and this is what it looks like when you first load it onto a track. There's nothing really going on in here. So we want to click on Mix Assistant. And here we want Track Enhance. Click Next. Then from here, you can go to Auto Detect, and it's going to auto detect whatever instrument you used, or you can go in and set it up. I'm going to set it up to drums, so it knows in advance what it's going to be searching for. And in here, we can go to, do we want it warm, balanced, or up front? I'm just going to go with balanced. And intensity, do we want it low, medium, or high? Again, I'm going with the middle, medium. Click Next. And now it's saying it's waiting for us to play our audio. So we're going to play our audio and it's going to detect it. All right, so you can see that it's added the Sculptor here, the equalizer, the exciter, and a compressor. So let's play this back and I'll do the bypass as it goes so we can hear the difference with it on and off. All right, so you can hear a difference when I bypass it. It's doing something in there. And I think what it really does is cleans up some of the muddiness of the drums. And of course, you can go in here and fine tune any of the settings you want. You can even load in more modules if you wanted to. Or if you didn't even want to use this Mix Assistant, you can actually just load up the individual modules that you want and set it up however you want. And there's even presets in each individual module. So you can click here and you'd see we have all of these presets in here. Maybe we wanted to use one of those. There's also overall presets for the entire plugin. So we could go into here, drum bus, acoustic, and then we would go to basic drum bus, say. And you can see it's changed things up based on this preset. So let's just give that a listen right now. So you can hear a few of those presets in there. They do make a difference. So now we've looked at one way that we could use Neutron, that's using that mix assistant or using the presets. Now let's look at the second way that we can use iZotope Neutron Pro in a mix. And it's something that I sort of hinted on in the last one. It's using the individual modules. And you can use them like I showed you. You can add individual modules into this master plugin that houses all the modules, or you can load them up as individual plugins. And I'm going to show you that right now. So I'm going to take Neutron Pro off of this track. And now I'm going to load up one of the modules. So you can see in here I have the individual modules that I could load up if I wanted to. There's the equalizer. If I load that up, it just brings up the individual equalizer module into its own window. So it's not housed in that other plugin. And you can see I can access the presets in here if I really wanted to. So let's just load something up on here so you can hear what it sounds like. And that's just something I quickly put there. I wouldn't actually use that in a track, but you can load as many of these modules throughout your project however you want. Now let's look at the included modules. So first up, we'll look at the Sculptor. And this is a spectral shaping tool that can remove muddiness and reduce harshness on your tracks and really just make your tracks sound the best that they possibly can. It's basically like an extreme multi-band compressor that can have up to 32 bands that you can control instead of the typical 4 that you have on a multi-band compressor. So this is the Sculptor here. And you can see there's some preset things that we can toy around with. Click on that and it would set it up for drums. There's also presets over here that you could access. And that's your Sculptor. Now, next up we have the compressor. And you can see we can have 2 instances of the compressor within the master plugin here. But we'll just look at the one compressor because they're both the same. So with this compressor, it might look simple, but it's actually quite nice. You can enable the vintage mode if you want. So it has 2 modes. The default mode is the digital mode as soon as you load it up, or you can enable vintage mode by clicking there. And that kind of gives it a little more character, similar to like a vintage compressor would have, whereas the digital one is going to be a more transparent compressor. And you can see we have our typical compression controls. You have your attack, release, ratio, makeup gain, and then your threshold is controlled by using this bar right here. Now you also have a mix control on here, and you can control the knee of the compression as well, which is nice. And then over here, you can see we have sidechain. So you can use this as a sidechain compressor as well. And if you want to see how much gain reduction you're doing, you can see it on this meter here. So let's just have a look at that right now. And another cool thing about this compressor is that you can use it as a multi-band compressor. If you go to this bar here, you see the plus sign, you would just click wherever you want to add a node, and then you can click again to add another node. So you can have 3 different sections of multi-band compression. And to control them, you would just click on the first node here, this section here. If we want to control that, we would just set the threshold there, click into this section, and we'd set the threshold maybe down there, then do the same thing for this section. However you want to control it, and you can change these around however you need, and you can even bypass the compression for a specific section by just turning it off there. So that's the compressor. Now let's look at the equalizer. So this is actually a really nice EQ. It's great for surgical stuff, and it can also be used for some character stuff as well, as I will show you. So you can see it starts out with 4 bands, but you can add more as you need. And of course you can control them however you want to control them. Now there's this soft saturation, and this acts like an exciter, and it can make your track sound a little more full. There's also this cool feature called the masking meter. Now, if you had other instances of this relay plugin, or maybe other instances of Neutron on other tracks, and you want to see if maybe some frequencies are interfering with one another, you could enable this, and we'll say acoustic guitar here. And now we can look and see if there's some frequencies that might be overlapping. Just going to bring these down. We'll give this a listen. And you can see in there where the frequencies are overlapping, and you can make some adjustments based on that if you really wanted to. And if that wasn't enough for you with this EQ, you can also use it as a dynamic EQ. So you can go in here, enable the dynamics, threshold, and all that fun stuff. Plus, you can also use it in sidechain mode as well. It's a very nice EQ, and you might find yourself reaching for this one quite a bit once you get it. Now, next up, we have our exciter. And this can help to accentuate your track by adding harmonic distortion. And one of the cool things about this exciter is it has 4 different profiles. You can see retro, tape, warm, and tube. And the cool thing is you don't have to choose just one. You can move this XY controller around and have a little bit of tape and a little bit of retro still in there, some tube and warm. Just adjust it however you want, and you can even adjust the mix of the exciter as well. It's a pretty cool module and worth checking out if you get Neutron Pro. Now, the next module in here is the gate, and you can use this to get rid of any unwanted noise on your tracks or use it as a creative gate effect. It has fairly straightforward controls. It even has a learn function if you want to use that. And you also have sidechain capabilities with the gate, which is cool. Now, the next module is the Transient Shaper. And you can use this to alter your track's attack and sustain. Now, to be honest, I don't typically use a Transient Shaper. It's something I want to get more into, but with this one, they make it pretty easy to use. You can just choose maybe one of these presets in here, choose that one, and then you can click the Learn button. And then if we play it, you can see it learns some of the settings that you might want. So it's something that you might want to try playing around with. I know it's something I want to get more into myself. So that's the second way that you can use Neutron, is with the individual modules. And like I said, you can load them up as individual plugins on your track or use them as the modules within the main Neutron plugin itself. And you can build a nice chain in there and maybe even save it as a preset if it's something you want to continue to use over and over again. You would have all of the settings saved for each module, and that makes it nice and easy to use. So now let's look at the third way that we can use iZotope Neutron Pro. And that's to set up your overall mix. So before you start adding plugins, adjusting volume, panning, anything like that, you want to make sure that all of your tracks levels are ideal and your panning's ideal. And then you can get into all of that detailed mixing stuff. And you can see I have these relay plugins loaded up onto pretty much every track in my project. So this relay plugin comes with iZotope Neutron, and it's basically a relay to the Neutron plugin. It kind of works in conjunction with Neutron. And what you want to do is when you load it onto a track, you want to give it a name in here, so it's named after whatever track it's on. And this is going to make it a lot easier for you to work with. Now, I went ahead and did all of that already, and I haven't touched any settings. You can see all of my levels are at 0 in here. So now the next thing that we want to do is go to our mix bus or master track, whatever it's called in your DAW. You can add the visual mixer, and that's going to look like this. Again, this is another plugin that's included with Neutron, and you can just click on Mix Assistant. And then it tells you basically what I just told you, is to insert relay onto each track that you want to control. And you want to make sure that your volume and your panning is all set to 0 or unity, so nothing is changed. Then we click Begin, and you can see over here, these are all the tracks that it's going to control. If there's anything you don't want it to include, then you would uncheck it. But I'm going to leave everything checked in here. And if you want to bring something into focus, like say our lead vocals and maybe our lead guitar as well, then we could put the star right there. And I might also want to put that on the drums as well. So the next thing you want to do is click the begin listening, and you want to play your track all the way through. You don't want to miss anything. So make sure you start playing your track from the beginning all the way to the end, and then it's going to make the suggestions based on everything that it's heard. So I'm going to do that right now, but I'm going to fast forward to when it's done in the video so I don't bore you with the whole track. All right, so that's the whole track played back, and you can see that we have some sliders here that we can adjust, like we can adjust the focus. If we want to bring the focus up of those tracks that we wanted to focus on, we would do that. Voice, if we wanted to bring voice up, we could do that. Bass, all of this stuff. So let's just listen to what it's done here. All right, so as you can see, it's just really adjusted the levels. It hasn't done any EQing or anything like that. It's just kind of adjusted our levels to get us into the ballpark of where we want to be with our track. So we can just click on accept. And now you can see over here, we have a list of all of our tracks. And I'll just click on one of these, the acoustic guitar. And one thing you'll notice that is in the center here, it's kind of like a fader. So you can see you have 0 dB, and wherever the track is based on whatever levels that this has set for you. So if you wanted to adjust it manually, you can actually hold down Shift on your computer keyboard and click up and down if you want, and put it wherever you think it should be. And you can also adjust the panning by bringing it over whatever side you want to bring it to. So typically I will pan my guitars. So I'm going to do that here. Guitar 2, bring that over here. And I'm just going to leave everything else the way it is. And so now our mix is really ready to start mixing. We have ideal levels set for all of our tracks, and we're ready to go. So we can start adding our compressions, our EQs, and all of the other fun stuff like saturation, whatever it is you like to use in your mix, you can start adding that now. So as you can see, iZotope Neutron Pro is more than just a single plugin, and even if you don't want to use any of those AI settings like the Mix Assistant or anything like that, you can use the individual modules and get great results with your mix. Now, if you want to check out a track that I mixed using only the iZotope plugins, click the video on the screen right now, or click the one under it to see what YouTube recommends. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating, and we'll talk soon.